Michelle here, and
hello, it's Christine.
we're still in the chilly
Tuileries Gardens.
Tuileries Gardens.
It's an April, late March chilly day.
Late March chilly day in Paris, but like we said before, we've had great weather up to now, so we cannot complain.
And we're in Paris, so, we're in the Tuileries. We're in Paris. It's all good. It's great.
So the next thing we did, if you heard our last podcast, is we went in Paris. Now we're in Paris. We went to the school, not the School for the Blind. It's what's it called here? The Institut de
Avec les jeunes.
Yeah.
The Institute for Blind Children.
So just to back up a little bit, Paradis met with Valentin, and I don't know how to say his last name. She said it for me, and I captured it. But Haüy. Anyway, un autre fois, c'est Valentin Haüy. Oui, Valentin Haüy. Oh, merci beaucoup. H-U-A-Y. And
oh yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
Woohoo!
And
cameo.
Apparently, they had some very long conversations and involved conversations about opening a school for the blind. So the very first worldwide in the world school for the blind was opened in Paris in. Oh dear, I should know that date. I'm going to put it.
90s maybe?
That was before
that?
95. No, 1795.
Okay.
You're right. I think that's right. But I'll put the date up here. It's too cold. My brain is cold. And it was shortly after he had these conversations, had met Paradis. So that's just a little background. That's why we were going there. For one reason, we were going there. Also because it's a really cool museum. It's the Valentin Haüy Museum for the blind. So we've got all sorts of really cool stuff that's been used through the years. I'm going to let Chris take the lead on this one, but it was very interesting. So, I have to say, the woman, Muriel, that was there, she was a treat. She was lovely and helpful, and
she's a retired banker. She's maybe in her 70s, would you say?
Early 70s, maybe.
Very, very in charge, very capable,
yes.
Very warm, but in charge. And at certain points, she was sort of doing an impersonation of a teacher, just because she was sort of showing us teaching tools. And,
yes.
My partner Jason and I both read Braille, so she would sort of get studious and say, "Okay, we're going to test you now." And she was adorable. She was lovely.
She was lovely.
Volunteer, lovely woman.
Yeah,
lovely.
Absolutely. So thank you to her. Okay, anyway, go for it.
Well, what strikes me, because we're focused on Paradis, is Paradis was exceptionally well educated for a woman and for a blind woman. She understood geography, astronomy, which at that time was astrology, mathematics, Latin, different languages, and so she had in her life had teaching tools like tactile maps.
Yes.
We've talked about the composition board. So she was a very well-educated, accomplished woman. And so when Valentin met her, that must have been an inspiration to him to say, wait, you blind people don't have to be limited to learning a trade like making brooms, or, there are ways to educate blind people. And so I think she was very much an inspiration as an educated woman. And this museum was rapturous. There was a big globe with very longitude, latitude. You could turn it to see which constellations would be overhead at what time of year. There were mechanical devices for writing Braille. There were old books with embossed print font that you could feel, the genuine article, right? An original,
the real stuff.
Original big fat Latin book with embossed type. And there was between two sheets of thin plastic where you could barely feel it, but there was a piece of music, two staves with triads on them.
Yes.
So clearly a teaching tool for music, where the student could feel the staves and the notes on the staves. So because they were simple, they were just triads. It's obvious that it was a musical teaching tool. And so at that time, anyone getting a well-rounded education would definitely have been educated in music. And I'm going to speculate that at a school for the blind, they would emphasize that, because a blind person was unlikely to become an astronomer or a doctor, but could become a musician. And so I'm going to guess that music played a big role in the education that Haüy began with the School for the Blind, and that we saw reflected in the museum there.
Yeah. Yeah, it was really cool. It was not it's a big room, a very big room. It's one big room with many, many things in it. and there was a board with this one here with all these tactile things that the students could feel. Here's one that has a thing with, and then Braille underneath it. I'm trying to think back to what else I saw. The one you talked about, Chris, where it was actually, I think it's just a bass clef, but the triads, the arpeggios.
Yeah.
Very cool.
There were, one of the things that struck me was the pieces themselves are beautiful. They're teaching tools. Like there was the board with the sliding wooden slats, a rectangular flat board with sliding wooden slats, and one spot for the student's finger, and the teacher would slide the slats across and stop at a Braille letter, and the student would have to call out the letter. That's how they were tested. That's how they learned. And so these pieces, they're ingenuitive, and they show resourcefulness, and they were the first of their kind to be. They didn't have models to go by, and so they're beautiful because they were new. They were invented for the noble purpose of teaching, the truly noble purpose of teaching. But they're also beautiful because they're not uniform and mass-produced. They're crafted out of wood, and they're just beautiful instruments. They're beautiful teaching tools. So having those under our hands was
pretty
magical.
Cool. It was.
It was beautiful.
So Louis Braille went there, and he didn't really. There was not Braille, what we know now is Braille, but there were ways of trying to get letters out there. First, embossed letters. Embossed letters were the first thing. So if anybody doesn't know what that means, they would make it so that the letters would punch up, so they could feel the letters right through the paper. The paper had fiber in it, and it had to be kind of moist when they did that.
That's right.
They found out from trial and error. Then they moved to kind of a pre-Braille thing where they had a lot of more dots than they have now, and they had to go up and down to try and read it. And then they moved to when Louis Braille was there in the early 1800s, 1820, I think it was 1839 when they first started using Braille. He and another friend kind of standardized it.
Yeah, they refined it.
Refined it.
Current Braille, the cell has 3 dots vertically and 2 horizontal, but in the past, the ones she showed us had 6 vertical and 2 horizontal.
Yeah.
So to read it would have been much more laborious. And so what Louis Braille and his colleagues, his collaborators did was to condense the Braille cell, and it would have made the reading speed much faster. And then a lot of people approved it. The director of the school liked it, and it became a standard.
So as a sighted person, I can read Braille by looking at it. I took a course. I did take 2 courses actually to be able to read it. So with Braille, they do have something that tells you if something's a capital or a number that goes in front of it, because numbers have the same.
A to J is 1 to 0,
exactly.
1 through 0. But you indicate it's a number by putting a particular symbol in front of it.
Correct.
Yeah.
So this lovely lady showed me something that's in the works right now about when Louis Braille worked on music. Now this blew my mind. It was so hard because they had, so let's say an F looks like a G, like the 4 dots, 1, 2, and 3, 4.
Yeah.
Right? So that's an F. But to have an F, you have to know how long it is, whether it's a high F,
It's
medium
the
F,
spacing.
low F, the spacing.
The spacing is the hard part.
And if there's anything with it, like is it slurred? Is there right there? Is there a forte? Like so many things. So one letter might have 6 or 7
modifiers.
Yes,
Yeah.
modifiers. Good word for it.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at this. It's got a few notes here, and there's this big long thing about the notes. I'm like, wow. To be able to learn to read Braille, like one letter, and understanding that this is a capital because there's a dot here, is one thing. But like all these modifiers, wow, that would be hard to do. But yet, they learned. Lots of people learn Braille music.
Oh yeah, it's
So
still a
it's-
thing today.
yes,
People,
yes.
Dedicated students still can read music Braille, and so obviously the memory was key because you weren't sitting in front of a piano with one hand and one hand, so you had to read it, understand it, learn it, memorize it, and then
Well,
that's
actually, I don't think you were there when she said that. She said they would keep their hand on, like the left hand on the Braille, and play with their right hand on the piano. Then they'd switch. They would read and play at the same time.
kind of sight reading, I guess. 'Cause
Yeah.
you can only play one hand, but I mean the goal obviously is to learn the piece.
Of course, you'd
to
have to do way,
memorize.
way more memorization.
Yeah, but that's this place. So that's the thing, is this place was all about learning.
Yes.
It was about the learning process. How did early educators of blind people think about it. What experiments did they try and fail at or try and succeed at to help people who are blind learn? And it was a new idea.
Yeah.
It was a new idea. People who are blind, if we got any education, it would have been at home. If you were wealthy, you would have had hopefully a tutor who cared enough to figure it out, or you would learn a trade, something menial work that you could do. And so the idea of a Renaissance education, like a well-rounded education for a blind person, was really new. And it's incredible to just be in this space that's full of tools and means to make that happen. And they bring it into the 21st century because one of the other things they had was a very modern book on plasticized paper, like 6 centimeters thick, and it's a whole book of the metro, the Paris metro, the underground subway. So luckily I can't read French Braille, so I was not expected to understand any of it because it was about 10 pages of text and then tactile diagrams to trace out the entire metro system. So this mode of approaching how blind people learn is still in play. The School for the Blind is right across the street from the museum.
Yes.
It's still a functioning school.
Yes.
So it's an ongoing thing, and to be in that space with the history of how that all came together and began was truly, I've never had a museum experience like that in my life. It was extraordinary.
And it was cool because we were able to see how the journey of it really, and then even the composition table of hers fits into that journey. It's not there, but they knew about it very much. Like,
when
we
for
mentioned,
sure,
she's like, we know that.
Oh yeah, she was like, ho hum.
Ho hum, big deal.
So you can see this, like, we're used to a world of standards today, and there's reasons for that, and it's not a bad thing in any sense at all. No. And you can see clearly at that time how there was a progression and different experiments going on. Like some of the mechanical devices there was one for transposing Braille into print. Say you wanted to leave a note for your sighted partner or something, you would move the bar across to the Braille letter, press a button, and the print letter would appear on paper.
Yeah.
So this was a German device. This was something someone in Germany invented. They crafted it and they built it, and it exists, and people used it. And so there were all of these innovative things. I guess it's a bit today, like, it's not that different, because with tech now, there's blind people who are extremely creative and smart working with sighted people to use technology, which is what we all use now. And so the sense of innovation is familiar, and the sense of collaboration that you can feel in those objects in the museum is very familiar to me.
Yeah, and so coming back to our two guys, we had the composition table. There was some kind of a machine, I don't know what it is yet, or maybe we'll never know, that Dulon used, that a guy from Dresden, a professor from Dresden, made for him to help him write his autobiography. It was an embossing machine, my understanding. It was an embossing machine. And so they had help at their time. Again, not standardized help, prior to the whole Braille happening in the 1839 kind of time. They were both gone by then, unfortunately. But so they were all part of that beginning.
And in the broadest sense, it fits into the spirit of the Enlightenment as well, which thought that equality was a good idea, and that education of everybody was a good idea, and that just, lowering the barriers between the classes was a good idea. And so you can see that playing out in all of the different innovative experimental ways people were thinking about education for everyone, not just for the wealthy or not just for the fully able-bodied.
Absolutely, and that was important that time. So that's what we did in the morning. I think we'll stop there and we'll do another one to tell you about what we did after that. Bye. Oh yeah, bye.
Like and share.
Like and share.